who are here in person and those of you who are logged on. My name is Bradley Flam. I'm the director of the Office of Sustainability at Westchester University, and I am very happy to welcome you to this, the seventh presentation in our Spring 2022 Sustainability Research and Practice Seminar. We're proud to co-sponsor this series with our colleagues in the Office for Research and Sponsored Programs and the Sustainability Council's Scholarly and Creative Activities Committee. We have 5 more presentations after today. If you haven't seen the program, they are fascinating topics from scholars and students and staff from all over campus. And you can find that on the Office of Sustainability's website. On the homepage, just scroll down to the bottom and you'll find a list of all the speakers and topics. With that, I'd like to just welcome you one more time and thank Professor Alex Cohen for agreeing to share his research with us today. So let me hand the digital floor to you, Professor Cohen.
Thank you so much, Brad. I am absolutely delighted to be here. It's wonderful to be with all of you. Again, my name is Alex Cohen, and I am an assistant professor in the marketing department in the Business College. And would like to welcome you to my presentation, especially any members out there who might be on the TEP committee. Thank you. Anyway, so I am very pleased and proud to be joined today by a dear friend and research colleague. I'd like to introduce to you Alexandra Luzier, who had graduated from Westchester with a master's in public administration back in May of 2020. And she had worked with me on many of these research projects, as well as being my graduate assistant. And now she is the senior director of business development and communications for a company that's very, very close and dear to my heart, Accessible Pharmacy Services. So I just wanted to give Alexandra just a moment to say hello and just to speak about accessible pharmacy services just for a minute.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us, and thank you, Alex, for having me here today with you. I'm always honored to be with Alex, and I'm honored to work with Accessible Pharmacy Services for the Blind. Just really quickly, we are a comprehensive home delivery pharmacy, and we specialize completely in the needs of the blind, the deafblind, and the low vision community. We're currently licensed and provide services in 34 states, including Washington, D.C., as well as Puerto Rico. But we are growing every day. We provide accessible packaging as well as accessible labeling solutions, depending on a patient's preference and need, so that a patient can independently and safely manage their medications. I'm saying all this because our company's mission and our services for our patients is based on Dr. Alex Cohen's years of research, which found that there was a huge need for an accessible pharmaceutical marketplace for the blind community. With that said, we are still actively continuing our research. And if anybody is doing healthcare related research for the disability community, we would love to be a part of it and move our mission forward. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, or if you would just simply like to learn more about us, go ahead and visit our website. It's just accessiblepharmacy.com. Or we're also all over social media, so please don't hesitate to give us a call or reach out via email or website, or whatever is your preference. But yeah, with that said, let's move on to the more exciting stuff, which is Alex's presentation, and I will stop talking and let him get to it. Alex, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate that. And yes, please go visit accessiblepharmacy.com. Now, so I'm here today to talk about digital inclusion in the marketplace. Just to note a slight difference, there is a difference between definitions, I guess, that are used for digital equity versus digital inclusion. Digital equity commonly refers to access to the internet, whereas digital inclusion you have access, but might not be able to participate or be included, whether that be for accessibility related reasons or otherwise. And that's where my research really starts. I have devoted the past several years to researching the inclusion of the disabled community in the marketplace, specifically looking at the blind and low vision community and their inclusion in the digital marketplace. So I guess, Alex, we'll start with
online accessibility, the problem.
All right, so the problem is that a website is either designed to be accessible or inaccessible. Just very, similar to how a physical marketplace can be designed to be either accessible or inaccessible. There are definitely resources that are available to help companies make their website and organizations make their websites more accessible. If you just Google website accessibility resources, you'll get maybe 20 or 30 million hits or 20 or 30 million options that Google will give you. If you say website accessibility, consulting, you might get 60 million hits. Anyway, there's a sense out there where wonderful organizations like the World Wide Web Consortia have really developed 48 different conformance issues that they've identified affecting website accessibility, and they categorize these different issues into type A, type AA, and type AAA, either making things very difficult or impossible to very difficult or just plain old difficult. But when you're navigating the web, if these issues appear, they really interact very badly with somebody who might have a disability or needs these accessibility related issues to be remedied. So the same principles bound like universal design, right? Like a ramp into a store or an automatic door helps lots of people, not just people with disabilities. Well, so does a well-designed website that are free from these accessibility issues. We're not going to go into all of these issues. This is not a computer science lecture or web design or anything like that. I am a marketer and interested in consumer behavior and the feelings of the population and their reactions to these service failures. So we're going to move on from this. But if you want more information about website accessibility issues, I do suggest that you visit webaim.org or w3c.org. All right, so now
we're on to online accessibility. Who is impacted? Okay,
so roughly 1 in 5 or 20% of the population has a disability that affects a major life activity. Now, of these individuals, maybe half of that, or within the US population, roughly 30 million Americans would be affected by website accessibility. Website accessibility really comes from the inability to use a point and click device like a mouse, whether that's from a disability related to cognitive or cognitive like cerebral palsy or mobility based on certain types of paralysis and of course vision impairment as well. So the use of screen reading technology, screen reading software converts text to speech, and it's designed to lay out and read text and commands to the user, but a website has to be designed in such a way to be accessible with this technology, compatible with this technology, and also have the ability to be navigated without the use of a mouse and just using keystrokes.
Blind and low vision.
So although the problem of website accessibility affects more than just the blind and low vision population, the most advocacy has been propelled by blindness organizations. And over the past 20 years, there have been thousands and thousands and thousands of lawsuits alleging discrimination against businesses who have inaccessible websites. And again, most of these lawsuits are filed by blind and low vision customers. So also, just from a research standpoint, working with the blind and low vision population, which I'm a proud member, is a bit easier to get through the IRB than maybe some of working directly with some other disabled populations.
Social identity theory.
So we are looking at the experience of service failures and what occurs as a result of when a blind user or a blind potential customer is confronted with an inaccessible website. And so the theoretical development of our propositions start with social identity theory. So social identity theory is often used to explain prejudice and discrimination. Now, we are not alleging prejudice, that an inaccessible website is prejudicial or done with malice. We really do feel it's more of an awareness issue than some type of diabolical decision being made to exclude people with disabilities. Now that we'd like to think that that's not true, but looking at social identity theory provides us that, look, it's an in-group versus an out-group dynamic. So the blind and low vision are the out-group in this case, because the in-group, the sighted and sighted developers, could not directly experience the lived experience of being blind or what it's like to confront an inaccessible website, any more than wearing a temporary blindfold exposes you to the lived experiences of being blind in some way. So this in-group, out-group dynamic lends itself to the basis for this being a discrimination event. Now, in previous work that I've done that was published in the Journal of Consumer Affairs, I did a 5-year study to look at the accessibility of the websites for the top 100 retailers in the US, according to the National Retail Federation. Found that, regardless of the type of retailer, whether it was a department store or a pharmacy, grocery store, sporting goods, whatever, they were the evaluation showed that most of these retailers were very inaccessible. Now, the population of the blind and low vision, it's a big population. I mean, in the US, it might be roughly 10 to 12 million people, but we know that this is also growing as a result of age-related eye diseases. And there have not been cures or much advancement in curing these age-related maladies. So people who have been used to, the well-documented aging of the baby boomers, people who have been used to conducting transactions online for the past 20 years or so, these websites continue to be inaccessible, and as people lose their vision, they're going to find that these websites are going to remain inaccessible unless a greater awareness is provided in some way. So again, social identity theory establishes for us the in-group, out-group dynamic of our work.
Disconfirmed expectations.
So marketplace research that's looks at satisfaction and dissatisfaction as is at the core of what we examine for service failures. It's all based on Festinger's 1954 cognitive dissonance, but what we propose and what's been proposed in the past, what we're building from, is that all marketplace experiences, all interactions come with a set of expectations. There's an expectation in the marketplace. There's an expectation that you'll be able to find what you're looking for, that the personnel will be friendly and welcoming, that it won't be crowded, that it will be well lit and clean, or things won't change prices drastically, right? So we have these expectations. Now, what disconfirmed expectations really looks at is within the marketplace experience, an assessment occurs where there could be a gap between what was expected by the customer and what was perceived to have been received by the customer. Did that experience or interaction meet those expectations? And if it did not, if a gap exists, that's where dissatisfaction exists, the dissatisfactory event. And oftentimes the reaction to a dissatisfactory event is based on that gap, and can be based on the size of the gap or the egregiousness of that gap.
Attribution theory.
So it's not enough to identify that a gap exists between what was expected and what was received. There has to be blame attribution. There has to be the blame, the anger. Somebody needs to be at fault for this. It's kind of the difference between anger and frustration. Anger is where can be directed at something that is directly at fault for causing a negative experience, whereas frustration occurs more as a result of nothing particular being at fault. For example, an airplane a flight being canceled due to bad weather is a frustrating experience, but who are you angry at? Are you shaking your fist at God? It doesn't make sense to be angry at the airline. But if the airline purposefully overbooks the flight because it knows that it has, always has some people who don't show up, then and you get bumped because the flight is oversold, then yes, that would be anger towards the airline or towards. So we also look at Kelly's as part of attribution theory. We look at Kelly's covariation, looking from 1967, and three separate items need to be present for this attribution to occur. The first is distinctiveness, which means that something occurred that can be blamed. Something is at the center. Something is at fault for this. The second is consensus, which is if other people had this same experience, would they feel the same way? And the third is there consistency over time? Is there the possibility that this could, happen again on multiple occasions? Now, when we look at website accessibility, this really checks all of these boxes, because a retailer is responsible for their website. So that checks the distinctiveness box. Consensus. We know that blind people have to use screen reading technology to use their computers and to navigate the web. some type of assistive technology. So if the website isn't designed to work with this assistive technology, this particular failure is going to be shared throughout the entire community. Also, consistency. It's not that easy to fix an inaccessible website. And so something might, be inaccessible over time upon repeated visitation, because just one thing we also uncovered in our research of looking at website accessibility is that it costs roughly 1% more to design and create a website that is accessible from the start, from its initial design and architecture. It costs exponentially more to go back and retrofit a website for accessibility purposes and remedy these issues.
Consumer normalcy.
So what is being disconfirmed in the expectation of a blind consumer? Now, I've done a lot of work in consumer normalcy and actually looking at, hopefully very soon, a publication dedicated to creating a scale based on consumer normalcy that we've been working on for a few years now. But so what expectation is being disconfirmed? Well, so consumer normalcy is a concept that was first developed by Stacy Baker in 2006 in the Journal of Retailing. It's really, and this was based on interviews and dialogues with blind consumers. And to shop is to be human. Everybody is a consumer in some way or another. To shop is normal. To somehow present barriers or block people's access from shopping is interfering with their attempts to live their normal lives. So we coined consumer normalcy. And consumer normalcy is derived by 4 distinct items. The first is the ability to participate in the marketplace. I am here, I am participating. To demonstrate competency and control in the marketplace. I am in control of what I do in the marketplace and the decisions that I make. Achieving distinction in the marketplace. I am me, I am free to be me, and I am expected here. And then finally, to be perceived as an equal in the marketplace. I am an equal, I belong. And so this, although the consumer never forgets that they are blind, the disability is ever present, this notion of consumer normalcy somewhat operates under the radar, on a deeper level, not necessarily unconscious, but it doesn't get activated until there is a negative interaction with the marketplace and someone's disability that disconfirms this this notion, disconfirms this expectation of normalcy, being able to participate, to be in control, to achieve distinction, and to be an equal.
Welcome.
So the next concept is welcome, and this concept was first derived in a piece that appeared in 2007 by Baker, Holland, and Scarborough. I think it was the Journal of Service Marketing. And the researchers did the same thing. They interviewed consumers with disabilities about their marketplace experiences. Now, this was in the physical marketplace, but we feel that the concept can be generalized to the online marketplace as well. And they discovered the concept of welcome, feeling wanted and welcome in the marketplace. And so welcome is provided by positive interactions with the physical marketplace, with the personnel, and the personnel of the store, other consumers, other shoppers in the store, and the selection of products or services that are available in the store. Now, just like consumer normalcy, whenever there is a negative interaction between any of these 4 items and someone's disability, there's that expectation of not being, there's the expectation of being wanted and welcome, that they want me and expect me as a customer. I can be included in this. But if there's a negative interaction between any of these factors, then again, that disconfirmed expectation exists, that gap exists, and a dissatisfactory event occurs, leading to anti-firm behaviors, which we'll get into next.
Okay, so now you have your hypotheses, starting with negative word of mouth or social media sharing.
Okay, so we had hypothesized that an accessibility-related service failure will lead to negative word of mouth and social media sharing. Now, negative word of mouth is among the most common reactions to a service failure. And we know from work done since the 60s that negative word of mouth lasts longer, resonates more with people, is a more memorable and interesting event than a positive service failure. So therefore, it tends to be shared more. Now, the way we looked at social media, we were very careful about this because social media, we specifically were looking at social media as a communication platform. And we also had to keep in mind the accessibility of social media platforms. Most commonly, the blind and low vision community interacts with Facebook and with Twitter, which are much more accessible than many other platforms. At the time this research was being conducted and we were collecting data, Clubhouse was a bit too new in the marketplace to add to this. So we really were just looking at Facebook and Twitter. So we wanted to see, and we, based on previous literature, we hypothesized that these service failures will lead to A, negative word of mouth, and B, social media sharing.
Your second hypothesis is an avoidance of other sales channels.
Okay, so in the previous work that I mentioned from the Journal of Consumer Affairs, we tested out general avoidance propositions. In this particular paper, we wanted to look at, well, what is the effect of an inaccessible website on a seller's other channels? So for the most part, many retailers aren't just operating with a website. They also have physical stores. Some might still have catalogs. They have access to toll-free numbers. There are other ways for people to shop and conduct transactions than simply on the website. Now, what we wanted to look at was the effect an inaccessible website has on a multi-channel system, even when those other sales channels might be accessible, like a 1-800 line or a Braille catalog or going to the physical store. So it's instead of looking at a halo effect where you look at does a positive interaction in one transaction channel lead to positive attitudes towards the seller's other channels, we're looking at a horns effect to look at how a negative service failure might create negative attitudes towards the seller's other channels.
Hypothesis 3 is complaint behaviors in a direct third party.
Okay, so we know that most service failures occur all the time. And the literature shows that service failures, most of the time, retailers, shop owners will never hear the complaint. They will never receive a direct complaint from an angry consumer, more often than not. Third-party complaining is complaining to consumer advocacy groups or attorneys or the press. And although there have been thousands and thousands of lawsuits alleging discrimination for website inaccessibility, the literature shows that, so we hypothesize based on the existing literature that following a accessibility-related service failure, people will not complain directly to the retailer, and they will not engage in third-party complaining.
Number 4 is an effect mediated by anger towards the retailer.
Okay, so this is where the attribution theory comes in. We wanted to, based on the retailer being responsible for their design of their website, we wanted to gauge the emotional experience. And so when in the event that an inaccessible website created anger towards the retailer, did this anger then mediate and make the effects of negative word of mouth and social media sharing and avoidance of the other channels, did this make create a higher or a stronger likelihood of these behaviors?
Number 5 is consequences stronger in high effort conditions.
So we did I'm going to get into the methodology, but we had two separate scenarios. One was a low effort scenario where the blind user was unable to get past the homepage due to the inaccessibility of the homepage. And we gave a second scenario, a high effort scenario, based on the user, the blind customer, being able to fill up their shopping cart and spend a significant amount of time doing so in shopping, but then being unable to conduct the final transaction because the transaction process wasn't accessible. So the previous literature has showed that when a customer exerts higher effort in the shopping experience and is more emotionally invested as a matter of this effort, that the disconfirmed expectation phenomenon, examination of that gap, will be even harsher and more severe.
Number 6 is feelings of discrimination lead to higher levels of consequences. I also want to let you know it's 12:35.
Okay, so I'll rush through it. So we wanted to see if feelings that an inaccessible website were discriminatory toward the blind and low vision community, if this feeling, if this opinion moderated the subsequent service failures effects and made them stronger.
Methodology.
All right, so we used an electronic snowball sampling technique and solicited participants from the National Federation of the Blind, American Council for the Blind, American Foundation of the Blind, and My Blind Spot. Had 520 people participate, but after manipulation checks and attention checks, we had 380 fully completed legitimate completed surveys. We used a within subjects design, so everybody was asked were first presented with the low effort scenario and answered the questions based on that scenario, and then were presented with the high effort scenario and then answered questions based on that scenario.
Results. Starting with hypothesis 1, which is negative word of mouth.
Okay, so an accessibility related service failure did lead to both negative word of mouth and social media sharing. So this was supported.
Hypothesis 2 was avoidance.
So yes, the other sales channels were avoided even in the instances when they were accessible based on this inaccessible website service failure. So supporting hypothesis 2.
Hypothesis 3, complaint behaviors.
Okay, so counter to what we thought people were not going to complain directly to the retailer. And it turns out from our group of participants that they did. So that part of the hypothesis was not supported. However, they did not engage or would not engage in third-party complaining. So that part of the hypothesis was supported.
Hypothesis 4, anger.
So anger did mediate the reaction, and those respondents with higher levels of anger also had higher levels of reactions to service failures.
Hypothesis 5, effort.
Effort. So this hypothesis was not supported. The high effort condition did not lead to more severe reactions to the service failure. Now, it's important to note that they were both high. Like they led to these service failures, these negative word of mouth, this avoidance and social media sharing. It just wasn't higher. There was not a significant difference between high effort and low effort in this condition.
And the last hypothesis, discrimination.
And yes, those participants who felt that an inaccessible website was discriminatory did have higher levels of anger and reactions to those service failures than people who did not, or those respondents who did not feel it was a discriminatory event.
Limitations and future research.
So limitations are our respondent pool was primarily members of blindness advocacy groups who are very well aware of accessibility related issues. It's very important to them. It's what many of these organizations fight and lobby for legislation for. So it's possible that this sample was a little more ardent than a non-affiliated sample might be. Also, I'm sorry, what was the next one? I missed.
Other disabled populations.
Okay, we only looked at the blind and low vision population, but the problem does affect a wider array of consumers than that.
Scenario approach.
And using the scenario approach maybe wasn't great. It probably would have been better for us not to use a within subjects design and give each respondent just one scenario. Also, it might be better to put people in front of a computer and give them an actual experience as opposed to a scenario-based approach.
Social media, e-commerce investigations are needed.
So we just looked at social media as a communication platform, but social media has really arisen in the past few years as a transaction platform, and also m-commerce needs to be investigated as well, and the accessibility of different m-commerce functionality. Also, other variables can be explored, such as loyalty and time and commitment.
And conclusion. So
this is a widespread problem. The affected feel that this is a discriminatory event, and it does affect a large number of the population. So things that we can do to create greater awareness. I think the lawsuits are going to persist, particularly as the pandemic has put such a special focus on online commerce and accessibility. The things that we can do as a university community is add more accessibility related modules to our curriculum, whether that's in computer science or education or the business programs that we offer. The more accessibility modules and information and awareness that we can provide to our students, they'll bring with them into practice. And hopefully by doing this, we'll then promote a more inclusive marketplace for everybody. I know that was a lot. I know we probably still have some time for some questions, hopefully, but thank you very much for your attention.
I hope you could hear that applause. It took me a moment to unmute, but there's an appreciative audience here at 255A site. I know I have a question, but I want to give folks in the audience a chance first. If anyone would like to kick it off.
Are you emphasizing marketplace solutions in this situation, or government regulation?
Well, it's more like marketplace solutions, because the specific negative consequences we're looking at are negative consequences for the firm, for the retailer. There are people these groups are working for years to try and get ADA Title III to include commercial websites. And the law is complicated. There haven't been adoption of specific accessibility guidelines, and there's a lot of confusion in the legislation. What we feel, as opposed to making it more policy oriented, hit the retailer in the pocketbook and affect their revenue, and maybe, just maybe, that will spur some positive results.
I'll jump in now. I found this presentation fascinating. The work you did, the methodologies you adopted, and the conclusions. And I have to admit, I was thinking often in your presentation about the Office of Sustainability's website. And I have to admit, we haven't spent a lot of time thinking about accessibility. And I just wonder, are the conclusions you came to applicable beyond commercial websites? Could, for example, a website like ours, which is designed to educate and to inspire visitors to become involved in the work that we do, could we be unintentionally inspiring some of these negative reactions with the way our website is designed?
Well, it's very possible that this could be generalized. Now, Westchester, though, is not necessarily a retailer. There are some different, there are different laws governing what Westchester needs to do to make its content accessible to students. I will tell you one project that is we finished and is currently under review is a 4-year study of the accessibility of university sport program websites, and how there could be different legislative issues between Title II and Title III, because there are commercial elements to a university's athletic site. You might notice it's a .com instead of a .edu. So there are definitely areas of exploration, but whenever a website is inaccessible, it does, it will create this dissatisfactory event. But it would be interesting to test to see if people would then somehow become less engaged in sustainability initiatives on campus because of that. I think that's worthwhile exploration.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, are there any questions from our digital audience? Sarah, Amy? No.
I was very thorough.
You were. I would like to. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
No, I was just saying, indeed, you were very thorough.
All right. Well, Professor Cohen, thank you very much for sharing this research with us. Another excellent contribution to the research and practice seminar. We're grateful for both you and for Alexandra for making time to speak with us today. And I'd like to ask us to do one more round of applause.
Thank you very much, and it's our pleasure, and it's always fun to share, and hopefully you walk away from this experience with just a little added thought about digital inclusion.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye.